Hey everyone, I'm Renee Bennett. Consider me the girl next door, having conversations that will help challenge and shape your worldview in a culture that has turned our moral compass upside down and inside out. To chat with me further, come join me on social media, girlnextdoor.podcast. No topics are off limits. I'm really glad you're here. Now, on to today's episode. Hi guys, thank you for coming back again for another episode of Telling COVID Border Stories. I'm telling you, you are going to love today's story because it is wild and you are not going to believe what you're about to hear. But just before I introduce our guest, I just want to show everyone something that you might not be aware of. Most of you would have one of these. I don't know if that's backwards to you guys, but it's an Australian passport. This is my Australian passport. Apparently it's a legal document, right? That gets us all around the world. In the very front page, the first thing that you open up to in your Australian passport, can I just read to you what it says? It says, the Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia, being the representative in Australia of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, requests all those whom it may concern to allow the bearer, that's me, an Australian citizen, to pass freely without let or hindrance and to afford him or her every assistance and protection of which he or she may stand in need. Just thought you all might like to know that that is what it says at the front. And so you are going to hear a wild story today. I want to welcome Amy. Thank you for joining me, Amy.
No, thank you for having me and doing this for everyone.
Oh, look, I'm just hoping. I mean, I've gotten to the point where I'm a mama bear that's been poked. And so I'm like, I'm happy for everyone to jump on the journey. And if I can help anybody, and I think all of us feel like that in that Facebook page, we're all like, want to help each other.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of relatable people and relatable comments there, that's for sure.
So true. And I'm getting sick of hearing the media they're not really telling our stories. They're just getting like the police commissioner or someone else to comment. And it's a whole heap of garbage, usually what they say. All of us know what's really going on. Okay, Amy, your story is wild. I don't even know where to begin, but it beggars belief. Do you want to just start off by telling us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, well, so I'm Amy, and I'm actually the founder of a mental health organisation based up in North Queensland in Townsville. So this has just taken a whirlwind that I would never have even been able to expect or anticipate.
Absolutely. What is your business called?
It's called Be Kind Townsville.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so we reduce the stigma of we aim to reduce the stigma of mental health. We go out to schools, have some talks about the effects of kindness and how we can look after our mental health. And it's been a wild ride to be away for that for so long now, as well as hopefully not knowing when I'm going to get back to it as well.
Totally. And now that I know your story, I think it's even more funny that your business is called Be Kind, because you have not been shown kindness when you got to Townsville, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So you're a resident in Townsville up north in Queensland, and you came to Victoria because of the passing of your pa, which I'm so sorry to hear about. I know how close I was to my pa and how sad I was when he died. So I'm sorry to hear that. So what happened? You and your family went into Victoria where there was no lockdown, no sign of any cases for your pa's funeral?
Yeah, absolutely. No signs or anything like that. Where we're actually located and where we held my pa's funeral is located extremely rurally, that when we say the name of where we are, no one has any idea of where it is. And we came down purely on the basis that we had, we thought that we were going to get home within 4 days of coming down here. But unfortunately, and obviously, that hasn't turned out to be that way. So that happened back in July and now it's October.
Yeah, so you came down for the funeral knowing that at that stage that you would just be able to get straight back home like normal, because there were no cases at all in Victoria at the time. So did the outbreak happen when you were over there during the funeral, like just after, a few days after the funeral?
I'm not sure, to be honest, with the particular dates around when an outbreak happened or when the lockdowns were. I just know that we've been through a couple of lockdowns since being here. but we've been lucky enough to be rural, so it hasn't affected us as much as it has those in Melbourne, for example.
Yeah. So you jumped on the plane at the beginning of August to return home?
Yeah, so my pa's funeral was 2nd of August. A couple of days after that, we'd said, all right, well, it's time to get home. We've got our border passes, everything's in check. And we got on a plane going to Townsville, got my other sister ready to pick us up at the gate, only to get off the plane and be escorted and, bunched up by about 12 cops and said, you're not actually going home today.
So hang on, you had a border pass, you got on the plane, you flew home, you got home to Townsville, and you had a thing that said you were allowed to home quarantine?
Yep, 100%. We showed the police that and they said, sorry, we know it says that, but we can't. Rules have changed.
How far on the tarmac did you get?
We got huddled into this little room. We got off the plane, huddled into this little room, surrounded by about 12 cops, and that was as far as they let us go. And then they gathered us and said, we're going to let you all know now that none of you will be going home. You'll be on another plane and you'll be going back to Brisbane, which we didn't come from Brisbane.
No, you didn't come from Brisbane. So you showed them your thing and said, hey, but look here, I've got permission from the government to quarantine in my home. What did they say when they saw that?
They just shrugged, and she said, I'm really apologetic and I know that it says that, but we've got the directive that we cannot let any of you leave this area. So 20 meters away from a door of freedom, and next minute we've been here for months.
I think I would have legged it out of there.
Honestly, I think we were about that close.
Oh my gosh, it would have, I don't know how you stayed kind. I would have been so mad. And now there were some other people on the plane though from South Australia, right? Who had been sitting on the plane with you guys. What happened to them?
Yeah, so 20 of us all on that one plane, and then 8 were from South Australia who transited through the Melbourne airport, and they all were allowed to go home and go in home quarantine in Townsville. So they were allowed freely despite us mixing and sitting near each other and doing all of that. And, if we were COVID positive, they were just as much of a risk. But they all got let through, and anybody that was coming from Victoria directly got shipped back, and there was 12 of us. And there was, a couple of young kids on there that was just heartbreaking to watch them.
Yeah. And so you got put back on the plane. Talk to me about that and where you sat and all the other people that were on the plane who were also mixing with you guys, kind of.
Yeah, well, so we actually, from that moment onwards, they gave us a directive to say you'll be getting on a plane at about, 10 o'clock that night. We weren't allowed any food or drink. The Jetstar staff had just walked blatantly past us on the plane as if we were, absolute criminals. And they had put us aside and said, well, you 12 people must board first, and you must stay at the back of the plane in these rows. And it was 2 rows, 2 police who escorted us in front of us, and then it was 1 spare row, and then the rest of the other travellers. So they all let us on. They even gathered from the back. So they walked past us to gain entry to the plane anyway. All the air hostess, doing their food and drinks. They walked past us, literally didn't even acknowledge us. So
did they not even give you food and drink on the plane on the way back?
No, so I went and offered everyone, even the police officers that we were with, and offered them. And, even when they said no, they were like, are you sure? And walked straight past us. So we weren't offered, and we weren't even looked at or spoken to when we were on the Jetstar plane.
I can't believe that. You were completely discriminated against for one reason. You came from Victoria.
Yeah, and we'd put in complaints and everything, and Jetstar's simple reply was, oh, you should have taken it up with the air hostess at the time.
This is what's bugging me, is no matter where we go to say, please, someone help me, everyone's like, I wash my hands of it,
everyone wants to point the finger at someone else, so it's less stress on them.
Yeah. So when you got back to Brisbane, what did you do? Did you go from a plane from Brisbane, and then did you go back did they send you to Victoria?
So we got off. We got off in Brisbane. They said you either stay in hotel quarantine for the 14 days here, or you make the decision now to go back to Victoria. And given the situation we were in, we thought, struggling with mental health as well, we had said, for now, it's best that we go back to Victoria, be in a space where we know, and then we'll work out another way to get back home. So the police were like, yep, that's all good. And then we all caught a bus collectively, and we went to the Novotel Hotel in Brisbane. We were in there. We got there about 2 a.m. that morning. And so it had been an extremely long, I think it was 24 hours. We spent 7 hours on on plane just traveling Australia, numerous hours in a bus, and then in the hotel quarantine, we spent about 10 hours there. And then we were allowed out, and from all the quarantine stuff to the airport, it was police everywhere. There was army, there was everyone controlling, until they said, all right, well, you're free to go 10 hours later, and just said, you can go sit out the front and wait for your taxi. We were under no.
So you weren't made to quarantine or anything back in Victoria. So if you stayed in Brisbane, you would have had to have gone and paid, by the way, paid for hotel quarantine. So you decided to go back home, be with family. And so once you arrived in Victoria, after being escorted by police and the army, and I know what that looks like and feels like, I've watched that happen. You feel like a criminal. It's like
the only thing that was missing was chains.
Look, I'm surprised they don't bring them in.
Give it some time.
Once you hit Victoria, they just let you go.
Yeah, so even from Brisbane, the moment we were, they even walked us down in the elevators and everything from Novotel. And the moment we left that hotel, they said, all right, be free. So we could have waltzed around anywhere in Brisbane.
Oh, really?
And they had no security whatsoever on us. It was just out of our honesty that we did catch that plane.
So they just left you in the Brisbane airport unsupervised?
Yeah, they didn't even get us to that. They just said, we've got a taxi for you out the front of the hotel. He'll take you to the airport and, be on your way. So yeah, it's only out of our honesty that we did get on that plane and didn't gallivant around Brisbane and drive back, straight back up.
I think that's what I would have done.
Honestly, in hindsight.
Yeah. But I think it's because we didn't realize how long this lockdown would be in Victoria. You just think, maybe a week. I mean, that's what they were told to start with. I think they were told 3 days, and then that became 7 days, which became 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. So you obviously now had to apply again for a pass. So did you apply for a border pass?
Yeah, so applied, and then they blocked the borders again for that 2-week period.
Yeah.
Then they obviously just said, all right, well, everyone reapply, because that's what everyone wants to do. And so I did reapply on the 6th. So the second day that they had opened up for applications.
And you haven't heard anything yet?
No. We have, it was the original of the 3 days. So I said I wanted to leave on the 4th day after the application. 3rd day I rang, and they said, oh, sorry, we've changed it now to 10 business days. Called on the 10th business day, and he said, oh yeah, I see your application, but you've called on the 10th day. You need to call after the 10th day. So I was like, all right, that's cool. I'll call you tomorrow. Called back the next day, and they said, sorry, the rules were changed at 8 p.m. last night. It's now no time limit. And I was like, every day it's like you get that close and then they just strip it away from you. So you start to lose hope after that happens numerous times.
Yeah, you really do. And you feel like you wonder if the person that you spoke to on day 10 knew that the rules were about to change and put you off.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, actually. So with the whole flight dilemma up from Melbourne to Townsville, the original one, the police were extremely sympathetic with us, but they also told us that they knew about it 5 days prior. And it was actually Jetstar who were refusing to let anyone know.
Because of the money?
Well, I think so, because they got our money. They haven't given anyone a refund. And then the Queensland government had to pay them to get us all back to Brisbane.
Are there quarantine hotels in Townsville?
No.
Why didn't they just fly you to Cairns?
Oh, that would be ideal.
It's a good idea.
So, yeah, well, we thought that could have even been the potential that we get off and then they say, well, look, there's nothing here. We'll, I don't know, bus you or we'll fly you back to Cairns. But there was no offer of that. It was a simple, you going back to Brisbane.
So tell me,
the Novotel out of all places.
Yeah. Did you have to pay for that stay in the Novotel, by the way?
No.
Okay.
They said, because you're only staying for a few hours, that's it. And to anyone who has lasted 2 weeks in there, God, my heart goes out to them, because that is a tough setup in that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's no fresh air. You have to, it's an 8x4 room. There was 4 adults in our room. You had 1 kettle. You had no kitchenette. It was, it was very claustrophobic.
Yeah, I would say that there's people that are having panic attacks and all sorts inside that situation, Yeah. So tell me all the things that you've done. I know that I saw that you'd written letters you've got letters from like MPs and all sorts.
Yeah, so we we reached out to our local member and also our local federal member, and they both wrote supporting letters for our family to be able to return home. We're still in contact with those members, but they're like, we haven't heard anything back. The government, what they have heard back, one heard from the government said it's a QPS issue, and the QPS have said it's a government issue. So again, like you said before, it's a bit of everyone wiping their hands, clearing their own slate. So
yeah, there's an awful lot of that. And did you even go to the paper as well?
Yeah, so we went to our local paper up in Townsville. So we went to the Townsville Bulletin there. They wrote an article about it. We reached out to many like other medias such as Studio 10 and A Current Affair, but with no luck with them guys. But yeah, everyone says, try your local members or talk to the politicians, go to the media, and we've done all that, and we're still not getting anywhere.
No, I know. I mean, my daughter's situation is not dire, like she's safe and all of that, but we want her home. But I opened up a complaint with the Human Rights Commission, and I got an email back on Friday telling me that it was going to take 6 months to even begin an investigation.
Yeah. We actually if that's not signs of the times, I don't know what is. We've actually also reached out to a what are they? Ombudsman. I think.
Yeah.
Picking up what I'm putting down, and he has said, have you gone into the rights, the human rights people? And we're like, nah. And he said, don't bother, because it's already a 6-month wait. So I was like,
I am proof of that.
Yeah, exactly.
It goes to show that a lot of people are making a lot of complaints.
Yeah. And a lot of people have obviously felt that they need to make that complaint based on the effects that it's had on their human right.
Yeah. And I think, look, to be honest, I've never bothered looking at the human rights until all of this has happened, but now I'm really up to speed with human rights, particularly because Anna Palaszczuk enacted the Human Rights Act in 2018 here. And in section 19, it says that we have the right as Australians to move freely around our country. And in section 58, it specifically talks about we have the right to freely move in and out of the state of Queensland. And so the government are in breach of their own human rights. The police commissioner, did you see the police commissioner yesterday on Channel 9? Someone posted it on our Facebook page, how he commented about everything that was going on with the border passes and how he said it's against the law. Yeah, he actually said it's against the law to discriminate, and it's all being processed in chronological order. And I'm like, the police commissioner just lied. Because we
literally. That's the worst thing when we see so much on the group that we're part of, and we're getting more information from each other than we are the police or the government, because we're just getting there. If they're not, cleaning their own hands, then they're just blatantly lying, or they themselves don't actually have an idea, so they've got to face up to the cameras and try and say something that looks impressive.
Yeah, because I reckon in my mind, it's like no one has the power except for 2 people here right now, Anna Palaszczuk and Jeanette Young. They seem to be the only ones that are able to make calls, because you know the NRL's happening. Look, we're recording this on a Sunday. This will come out this week, but the NRL grand final is happening tonight with 40,000 people. You know,
but your Anna will be front seat
with her new boyfriend.
I also saw that she went to a cafe where there was a whatever it was, where there was a case, but she said that she didn't need to be tested, or, you know, she didn't have to quarantine. And I thought, well, that's bloody convenient.
Yeah, totally. Because if that were one of us, we'd have to be quarantined straight away, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of unfairness. And I know that people have wanted to believe that the government are trying to keep us safe, but I just don't believe that anymore. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, you actually don't. Not when you've got NRL people here, not when you've got people like you. If they really wanted to keep you guys safe, they would have let you go on and home quarantine. You were home. You arrived on your own turf. You know, okay, and tested, fine.
And we were 20 meters away from that door where my sister was parked, and where we live from the airport is 10 minutes away. So we would have gone directly home in the same car, not had any interaction with anyone, gone home isolated for the 2 weeks. We were happy to do that. Instead, whatever went through their brainwave, it was kind of like, actually, let's put them on multiple other planes around the country and potentially infect more people. Even though we've tested negative, we've never had COVID, and we have the jab. So.
But literally, you could have gone and infected, like you said, all those other people. Like, common sense has gone completely out the window. Yeah. And this is what's getting me. Australians need to stand up. They need to stop just going, okay, yes. So like, and I know that it's hard to stand up because who do we talk to? No one is helping us, but at least I feel like our voices together have got to make a difference, you know, because the government are there for us. They're there for us. They're there to serve us. We're not there to serve them. They're here to serve us. They're appointed by us. We are in a democracy. What kind of financial effect is this having on you? You can't work. Like,
I cannot. We've been lucky enough, me and my parents, to get some financial support from Centrelink. My sister was already on Centrelink because she's a full-time student, meant to graduate in October this year. Unfortunately, that won't be happening. So she is on, I think, what Centrelink give her for being a full-time student is about $520 a fortnight.
Maximum. That my daughter's not in that,
And she's got a hire car for all of us, and that costs her, I think, you know, $540 a fortnight. So she's actually losing money. We're pitching in with what we've got from what we're, you know, getting from Centrelink and everything, but it just, she's at more of a loss than she is at a gain. So it's been extremely tough. Mum's resigned from her job, and now she works, or she will be going back to work with my dad, as he owns his own business. But yeah, we're it's and you know, we've still got, like, my parents have still got a mortgage up there, and they've got their caravan and car down here that they need to have back up in North Queensland to go to work. So if they can't drive home, they're not going to be able to have what they need to continue work up there. So it's another restriction, even if we do arrive back to Townsville.
Yeah, and getting your car back that far, I mean, I know just getting it here to Brisbane from Victoria is $800. It's probably going to be more to Townsville, but then a caravan as well.
Yeah, I think they looked it up and it was a fair few thousand. So,
so
with no income, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So can people still access your business online? Like, if anyone wanted to, because I know there's such a tight, you know, minimal amounts of mental health at the moment. The resources are stretched. Like, is there, what does your business do?
So for anyone that wants to, like, and help out with that, and even put the message out for themselves and those around them, we sell a whole bunch of merchandise with positive messages on them, as well as like pretty in-your-face messages. You know, some such as on the back it says, you know, if you're looking for a sign to not take your own life, then this is it. So it's quite in your face. It's a big one, but, you know, it does, in our eyes, have a major effect on those who are walking down the street and see that. But yeah, so people can go there. We do have a whole support page there that links you up to pretty much any of the support you want, whether it be for a specific illness, or if it's just the, you know, the basic general support that you get, such as Lifeline and all of that.
So people outside of Townsville can access that?
Yeah. So we still have some people up in Townsville who are doing so I'm doing the ordering from here, and people up in Townsville that I've got are dispersing it. So people are still able to get some support.
So one way that we could help
As for Townsville, we've.
So people.
So what was the question? Sorry, people.
So people can jump online and order your merchandise, and that would help to support you.
Oh, 100%. That would help support me, and hopefully, in the long run, support them and those around them as well. So it's a win-win.
Absolutely. And you are such a positive, beautiful person to talk to. At the moment that we jumped online together, I was like, I am going to enjoy this conversation thoroughly, which I have. And we almost made it. It's just at the end, it's been glitching, but I might have to, I'll get some of that edited out. So, but Amy, thank you so much for joining me. It's actually been a pleasure. And I'll make sure that the link to your business goes with this.
We'll figure it out.
Have a look. All right. Well, we'll probably have to hang up since the internet's not working, but thank you, Amy. Hey guys, as you would have heard or seen if you were watching YouTube, Amy and I got cut off mostly because she was so rural out there in Victoria. But I just wanted to finish off that conversation that Amy and I were having. Firstly, to say that we wish Amy and her family all the very best to getting back to Townsville. They should be able to make it onto just more than being on the tarmac. I think as well, something that we can all do is support her business. Amy's actually got an incredible story that I actually read about later after I met Amy, and the struggles that she's been through personally. She's really inspiring, and her business that you will be able to find, the easiest way I found it was on Instagram, Be Kind Townsville, all one word, Be Kind Townsville. And on there's a link to her website. And one way that we can support her is by buying some of the merchandise, which has got amazing little captions and positive affirmations on there. So I would encourage you to do that. But what Amy was going to do at the end, having been someone that understands mental health, and she was really keen to share with you all different bits of advice and tips to help you. And so she messaged them to me, and I just wanted to share them with you. So Amy said a couple of things that we could do would be to remember to take things day by day and sometimes hour by hour. And I would say, particularly for those of you in this lockdown or locked out, I would say out of your state, I would say that advice of taking things hour by hour, because sometimes looking at a whole day can be really discouraging. And she said to remember to control only what you can. Don't try and control the things that you can't. That's a lesson that I've been learning. Even just yesterday, I was like, I've got to let go of some of the fight that's just like causing me too much stress. And so, learn to let go of the things that you can't do anything about. She also said to reach out to those around you. And, it doesn't even have to be a chat about mental health. It can simply be a chat about anything. And I know working with young people, that's one of the things that we talk about, that when a young person is escalating and they are, in a place that where they're really facing a crisis mentally, that one of the best things you can do is just to talk about something else, watch a fun YouTube together, or I was going to say go for a run or a walk, which if you're not in lockdown, you probably can, but just talking about something else and distracting yourself is a really good thing to do. And Amy said that connection is the key, connection with other people. So don't stay by yourself, don't stay isolated. And I know sometimes that we can think, well, other people should be the ones reaching out to me. They should be able to understand what I'm going through. But, sometimes people, even though they're well-meaning, if we sit and wait for them to reach out to us, we might be waiting for a while. So, be the one to make the first move, be the one to reach out to somebody and make that connection. So there you go. Don't forget, you can support Amy by supporting her mental health business in Townsville, which, by the way, they have a partnership with Headspace in Townsville. And I know some of their proceeds go towards that. So Be Kind Townsville. Thank you for joining us. And thank you so much to Amy, who shared her story and just was such a bright beacon. I loved her chatting with her, her smile, her positivity, she radiates hope. And so, let's go along and support her. But until then, guys, thank you so much for listening to another one of our Telling COVID Border Story episodes.